We are preparing for the call today. I'm preparing for an appointment. The reason I have this up here, it may take time, but that's okay, is because it takes time to get the habit of preparing the right way. But we'll start with this one first. So preparing for the call. The first thing I would do on preparing for the call is going to be, make sure that you have the MLS data up and running if you're talking with a client on how to make an offer, right? So just having the MLS open, whether it's New Jersey, Hudson, whatever you got going on there, have an MLS open. You can jump right into it. Even if you do answer the call and you're not ready for it, you are doing what I do, which is I'm typing out addresses, I'm pulling up the data as they're talking. So that's the first thing to do, okay? Number two to prepare is going to be open up an email chain, okay? And again, just to reiterate, this is how you're supposed to prepare. It's going to take some time to kind of get used to this, and you might think it's more work up front than it is to actually, than it is in the moment, but this is all going to work out. Let's look at the number 3. We'll look at some text info. Basically, what these two are doing, this is like refreshing your mind to what it should be. This is my opinion. If you know exactly where you are with a client at any moment in time, that's really good. And photographic memory can serve you well for a period of time. But once you actually scale and you're supposed to get multiple deals a month, you're not going to remember every little detail. And the details is where it's at. The details is where you're going to win when you're preparing for the call. This is all what we're talking about. You're getting all the details on the client, making sure like, oh yes, they said that they wanted to look in this certain area. Oh yes, this is the properties that they're looking at. Let me see if there's something else that I can find, and always go one step further. So you want to get someone prepared about like, what's the activity like? So as an example, this can be someone inquiring on HomeLight or Zillow. They're inquiring on a specific property. So they have a specific property, pull out the last year's data on everything on the street and the building, if it's a condo. And if it's a condo that's only 4 units, then just go with the block then, right? So you got to just think about that way. Once you have that information, now you have lineage. Then you have rental information, you have sale information, you have everything going on. That's part of what you can prepare for the call. Let's talk about reacting. So we do a lot of reaction. You're in a point where you're getting a call, you just want to like answer the question and go back and forth. So I'm just going to write this in big bold because I think it's super important. Stop going back and forth. It's all about time management. We always talk about this here, and I think this is like the theme, I think, with everything that we talk about. Just think about it. Just on a side note, I just want to, this is all skills. Everything we talk about, we're always trying to save what? What does technology do for us? It saves us time. Everything's about the time that we have, right? So stop going back and forth with reacting to just whatever they say and trying to figure it out. Worry about your time management, okay? Now let's go to managing expectations. This is obviously going to go hand in hand. So another way that you can manage your time and also prepare for whatever you're going to do is, why don't you give yourself some time? So, okay, fine. So let's just say the call comes in. You are now reacting because you happen to be out and about. You're doing whatever you got to do. So how do you manage expectations properly, right? It's not just pulling over on the side of the road and being like, okay, let me just, figure it out, and I'll just, react and just get you the information that you want, or let me just talk about the offers. Oh yeah, they said this, and you're not a, order taker. So instead, it's saying, you know what, that's a great question. I really appreciate that. All right, so you want to acknowledge. It goes back to the skills and the role play that we talk about. So acknowledge, answer, question. So this is the framework that we use here. That's going to lead you and your client down the path. What I mean by that is, okay, manage expectations. They say, you know what, how long is it going to take to get an answer from the seller after you make an offer? Okay, that's a great question. And usually it takes about 24 hours to 48 hours, depending upon the communication. And what I'll do is I'll keep you posted. When do you want to go back out to go and see some more property? And that actually, so why would I ask that? Well, why would I ask that question in that moment? Is because I want to know how committed they are to that deal. Because if they say, you know what, I'm not going to, no, let's just focus on this for now, then that's great, we will definitely focus on that. I'll get back to you. Now you just bought yourself some time about like, you know, not having to like, you know, get back to them every single second. I used to do that. I used to, when I would make an offer, I would text them in the morning, hey, offer was presented, keep you posted. Text them at night, no answer yet. That's fine, but if you set up the expectation up front, this is what it looks like. Take the time on the call to actually talk about every detail. Whether they hear everything or not doesn't matter. Your job is to share this information. That way you're not having to text all the time and email every single second to get them an answer. So I think I was doing that for years, and I said, we're not doing this anymore. And instead I got much better at what I was communicating over the phone to doing that way. This is basically, it starts with the first call. This is about, let me put it here, first impressions. Okay? So as an example, we got a lead last night. That was a referral client. And so everyone is judging all the time. You guys have to remember that, right? The more prepared you are for the call, you know, and that goes with all the practice that you do here, right? And this is why I say it takes time, but it's okay. Over time, you're going to learn how to get prepared faster and faster and faster, just like I am now. So your first impression's everything. And I'm throwing this in there because I want you to know that I can count on my hand how much like less selling I have to do over time when my first call is lights out amazing. But I think that we get in the habit that because we're buyer's agents, or we're just like, oh, we'll deal with it later. Let me just show them property and just be whatever. If you're going to be lazy about the process up front, then you're going to have to do more work, right? You are paid in direct proportion to how well you set up everything. And this is really details and discipline. How disciplined you are to focusing on preparing the right way, not reacting, managing the expectations, and being that first call, and have the mindset of this is super important, right? Like, I just want you guys to know, like, that first conversation you have, they're judging you 100%. Like, this is everything. That mindset is everything. So you want to get them, like, locked in. So that call I had, look, I spent 45 minutes in my driveway talking to this referral lead. I did it because I know it's going to set up V in the best way possible so she can get a result that's super fast. They asked me about what is our listing agent, are you buyer's agent, how do you do this, blah, blah. I answered everything in detail. And I did that so that you guys, when you get referrals from me, it's like, boom, all you have to do is just go out and show the door, and basically you just sell it, But I took care of all those answers up front. So I took 45 minutes out of my night to basically set you up so that it saves you hours later in the future. And I think that's why the first call is super important.